It's another week of the biggest news in the video game industry that includes a look at some of the most exciting upcoming games, big and small. We've got the Xbox Developers Direct, as well as some promising looking indie titles that you might want to keep an eye on.
And we got some shakeups going on behind the scenes as some big names from WB and EA Games have left the companies. We're going to talk about all this stuff and a whole bunch more right now on Gaming News Weekly. What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of Gaming News Weekly, the best weekly video game news show out there every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube and podcast services everywhere. My name is E-Rock the Red. This guy right here is Full Clip. What's going on, dude? How are you?
What's going on? Doing all right? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm looking at the sun. The sun is out.
Oh, yeah.
It's affecting me. It's the first time I've seen the sun in 6 weeks.
Really? Yeah.
And you could tell. Yeah, it's nice. It's real nice. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. You know, I haven't had a lot of time for reaching out and playing new games. I did play quite a bit of Call of Duty. And then last night I got
Surprise!
I got into a game that I'm going to gush about, but it's in our new releases, so we'll hold off on that.
Oh, I am excited. I can't really add to anything to this, dude. It's been a different week as the games that I've played are embargoed until next week.
Oh,
so I can't really give impressions. I can tell you the games. Eternal Strands, it's a new game. It's going to be out on Game Pass. And then Achilles Survivor, which is a new Survivor game based on the recent Achilles action role-playing game.
oh.
So that, as a little teaser for next week. So yeah, I've been really pouring a lot into them. Little Marvel Rivals here and there. And then I was trying some older games. I'm trying to go through some of my backlog, whereas I should be playing games that I know I want to play. I'm just trying a bunch of new games. I tried that Jasant. Remember that? The climbing game?
Yeah.
I tried that a little bit. It's good. It's a little boring, but I'm not very far. I feel like it'll pick up. What else? Moonrise. No, not Moonrise Kingdom. That's a Wes Anderson movie. Moonstone Kingdom. It's like a SNES style. You got a farm, you got to collect creatures, and there's a deck building aspect to it. So I was like, I'm gonna love this game. And it's a little, I don't know, the pacing is weird and it's a little janky, but yeah. So I got nothing to report.
Is it like a Harvest Moon kind of Stardew Valley sort of thing, but with a card element thrown in?
Yes. Yeah. And it's definitely and you got the Pokemon aspect too. I think there's 100 creatures that you could capture and have them do your battles for you. And then that's where the cards come in. So it's interesting. I just have to spend a little bit more time with it. It was one of the Humble Bundle, Humble Choice games. So, it's just there for me if I want it.
I hope they're not violating those copyrights or not copyrights, trademarks. Or patents.
Exactly.
From Nintendo, or else
want
they're going to come down hard on them.
They are, yes.
They're not be a throw mechanic.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess let's just get moving with this show and let's talk about our new releases from this past week. All right. First up, Ender Magnolia: Bloom in the Mist came out of early access on January 22nd. It's been in early access for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. It's a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, the sequel to Ender Lilies. And this one, it's been getting great reviews since even being in early access. And now that it's the 1.0 is out, I'm seeing a lot of great reviews. It's the gameplay is weird. So it's your classic 2D side-scrolling platforming style game, but like you have to defeat these corrupted homunculi, and when you do that, you could summon them in battle, and they fight for you, and they have different powers and abilities and stuff like that. I haven't played it, but all the videos that I've been watching of it are real cool. And then again, my buddy who's like the king of Metroidvanias, he's real big on it. So it's on my wish list. It's 84 on Metacritic, and it's at 95% on Steam. So it's the kids are loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw the trailer for this, it kind of it feels like a lot of games that I've seen before. You're not gonna get anything insanely different in that Metroidvania style, but the styling of like the overall look and feel of it, it's like this anime Victorian thing going on, kind of like Eliza P, I guess, but maybe a little flatter.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I'm excited to try it out. I got recently into the Metroidvania things, so I'm still new to the genre, but I'm always really drawn to all of them. And then next up, Gravelord came into early access on January 22nd. This is a boomer shooter. It's a little, Doom-esque, Quake-like, and it's got this badass gravedigger, and he's got a shovel and a bunch of guns, and he's just running through, shooting everything. This game, I did get to play a little bit of, and what I've played of it is great. I do think it needs a little more time to cook in the early access. So I played it on my Steam Deck, and it doesn't have native controller setup just yet. So I was playing it, by mapping the buttons. Usually I could play a first-person shooter, no problem. This one, there's a few buttons that I have to it just doesn't feel completely right. So that's not the game's fault at all. They already said they're working on controller support and Steam Deck support, and that should be out soon. So I can't fault it that at all. But it did make it more difficult for me to get into the game. But I will say, the game is very fun. It's a very well-made boomer shooter, if that's a genre that you're into. It's got this really cool comic book style throughout, too. And it's funny. There's a lot of really funny parts. There's a tarot card upgrade system, which, again, I'm still messing around with. But you have 3 slots, and you can fill them with these tarot cards to upgrade your build. But yeah, it's I'm very excited to see where this goes now that it's out in early access, and what the roadmap looks like to full release, because it's got good bones, as they say. So
yeah, it does
I recommend it.
Does look like a pretty cool one if you're into that Doom style of gameplay, and I wonder if this is going to be a little bit hurt by that new Doom. What is it, medieval style Doom that's about to come out?
Doom the Dark Ages. Yeah, there's so many of these kind of retro-ish, first-person shooters that come out. So it's a big genre lately. I'm seeing tons of them. I don't know if they're easier to make or what, but they're everywhere. So it's a hard market to jump into. It's got to be really good, because I've played some stinkers, and this one was not that. And again, still in early access. It's it can only go up. So I'm looking forward to it. And then last up, I'm really excited to hear your take on this one. Tokyo Xtreme Racer also came into early access on January 23rd. This is a racing game. You're in a sealed-off future Tokyo. You got real cars that you can customize. You got to beat other people to win parts and cars and stuff like that. Give me the full clip rundown.
All right, so I played Tokyo Xtreme Racer 0 back on the PlayStation 2. I think they had 1, 2, 4, and 0 somewhere in between there, and they hadn't made a game since 2009. So it's been something like 13 years, I read somewhere, since the last one, or longer. This is very much like a spiritual successor to those. The gameplay is 100% familiar, and the style of racing is the same. Graphically, it's beautiful. I've been running it on ultra graphics. I think it's locked to 1080p right now, but I'm having no problem on my humble 3070. I think this would be a really good pickup for Steam Deck, because it even prompts you when you open the game that it's meant to be experienced on controller, no matter what controller you're using. So it's not a like simulation racer or anything. This is all about JDM cars. So they do have real brands in there. You're choosing between like Mazda, Toyota, Subaru, and as you're unlocking more and more, you have other options there too. But the style of racing in the Tokyo Extreme Racer series is almost kind of like you got a health bar on each side. And the further ahead you can get of your opponent, the faster their health bar starts to sort of tick down until it's gone, and then you've won the race. But, you know, if you slam into a wall or something, that takes a little bit away. Right. My best strategy has been like, if I'm a little bit faster than them, I can actually just rear end them a little bit, and that seems to do a lot of damage like to their health bar. So you can cheese it a little bit on some of these guys.
Nice.
But it's got a really like fleshed out perk system, skill tree system, and everything, and even the way that you unlock new cars to be purchasable in the game. It's all kind of combined. So it takes the elements of the older games, and then it expands on those. And this one actually has a little bit of dialogue to it, which I don't remember in the one I played back on the PlayStation 2. But there's a little bit more of a storyline going on here. What I really loved about these games back in the day is that you are on this like faithful recreation of the highway system in Tokyo, and what you're doing is finding like the other cars are already out there, and it's always like a 1v1 situation. But these cars are roaming around on the highway, on the map. So when you come up behind one, what you do to initiate the race is like flash your high beams at them. And then if they're within the right level of you, they might accept the race, and then it's go time. And after the race, you just keep cruising down the highway until you find the next one. But there are also a lot of like random cars. If you see like that there's a Subaru or a Toyota or something on the street, chances are you can go and race them. They're like a no-name NPC kind of person.
Gotcha.
While these other ones that you're progressing with are in crews. So you need to be able to like take out 5 people out of this crew, and then their boss comes up behind you and you beat them. Then you've got like bigger bosses. And I haven't seen it in this game,
fun.
But there was like the Wanderers or something like that. And these are like higher level kind of bosses that would just show up randomly when you're out there. And they have the coolest cars, really unique emblems. And another cool part is when you like take out a crew and you beat their boss, or you beat one of these Wanderers, you get to use their emblem on your car, however you want it. So I started with the Toyota, the AE86, the one from Initial D. I just started like sort of like a World War II airplane. As I take them out and I earn the right to use their badge, I'm like putting them down on a strip
on the side.
Yeah, down the door.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds really fun. It sounds like a great arcade racer, which are my favorite types of racing games. How is the racing feel? Like, does it feel nice? Are you Tokyo drifting?
No, you're not really drifting very much. You probably could set it up to do that. You have a lot of like suspension tuning and brake tuning and stuff like that. It wouldn't make very much sense with like the longer straightaways and stuff in these highways. But it is, you do have to use a little bit of caution and a little bit of skill that you're going to gain, and like learn your car so that you can make it around those corners without slamming into it and hurting your own health bar and stuff like that during the races.
Very cool. Is there any plans to have multiplayer as this, or is it just going to be a single player game?
See, that I don't know. I think this has always been a single player kind of series, but if they were to do an online element, I don't know, because it's just in early access and just came to early access. It would be really cool if there were some online elements so you could at least like show off your custom rides and stuff to people.
I saw like some of the reviews saying how great, like the AI was really well done, and also that it's like just there's no microtransactions and it's just feels like a complete game. And I was like, that's really cool, because they're very rare to find those games, you know, where you're not just buying stuff. So very cool. You got me excited about that one. I'll have to check it out. All right, that is it for this week's new releases. Now it's time to get into our news of the week. All right, the top story this week is the Xbox Developer Direct. Just happened a few days ago, and they focused on 4 titles. Interviews with the devs. They kind of walked us through the games, and those games were Ninja Gaiden 4, South of Midnight, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and Doom the Dark Ages. I was very excited to see more about each one of these games. So starting with Ninja Gaiden 4 was the first one. This was more of a surprise. We didn't really, the other ones we knew about. This one we had no clue that it was happening. But it's going to have, Ryu Hayabusa. He's going to be a playable character, but a new Ninja Gaiden Yakumo is going to be featured in there. One quote from the director and producer from Platinum Games, Yuji Nakao. He said, "A significant amount of time has passed since Ninja Gaiden 3, and players will find themselves arriving in a gruesomely transformed Tokyo. One of the key themes of this story is the return of the Dark Dragon, which has plunged the city into chaos. Within these unsettling conditions, Yakumo will have to face off against his foes as well as the formidable master ninja himself, Ryu Hayabusa." So, very cool. Lots of stuff for previous fans in the Ninja Gaiden series. And, a bunch of new stuff. It looked like a lot of new abilities, and it looked beautiful. It was like a gorgeous looking game. So I've never, like, the difficulty level for the Ninja Gaiden series has always scared me away, because I've always heard how hard they are. But watching the gameplay of this, and how, like, the sword fighting and just getting, like, literally chopping people in half and stuff like that, it looked so cool that I'm very much eager to check out this game. Does this move the dial for you at all?
I don't know, because I've never played anything in the series. I'd be a little hesitant to get in on the fourth one.
Yeah. The good thing about all four of these games, and they said it right at the start of the Direct, they're all coming to Game Pass. So, if you're still a Game Pass subscriber at the time that they come out, it's like, you don't have nothing to lose. So I really like that. It makes me feel good about that whole thing. But at the same time, they also shadow dropped Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, basically the definitive edition of Ninja Gaiden 2, which was from 2008. On the Xbox 360. So this is like a remaster of that, and that came out, also available on Game Pass, as well as all four of these games, I think, are going to be available elsewhere, like just PlayStation, PC. I'm pretty sure. That's Xbox's new thing now. You could. There's no exclusives. Everything's an Xbox. So, and then the next one we saw was South of Midnight from the developer We Happy Few. This one, we've talked about it before. It's like that stop motion animation set in like New Orleans or something.
Yeah.
And then there's like magic and voodoo and all this stuff, like a Southern Gothic vibe. This one, I was really excited about going in. After watching this, I'm a little less excited. I thought the fight scenes, like they looked a little janky, a little, I don't know. It didn't have a lot of weight to them. It didn't seem like the magic powers were that, like, exciting or whatever. But again, I'm still interested in this world, this story. What do you think of this one?
I had kind of the opposite reaction. I mean, it didn't do much for me the last times we've talked about it, and maybe it's just we didn't see that much of it. This one kind of fleshed it out, made me feel like it's going to be less of like a Telltale style of game. So I'm more interested than I was. I don't know that it's like a immediate pickup for me or worth the time downloading on Game Pass if it's there.
Sure. I really love the design of all the characters. Like, love it. And I think that's why I was really hopeful that it was going to be, like, awesome. Because I thought, like, that giant crocodile and then, like, the scary, I don't know what the heck they are. But they look really, really cool. So then when I got to see the character Hazel using her magic to weave, and the developers talking about this, I was like, I don't know. But it's different also. It's not just like a Forspoken or, all those other ones that we saw where it's like this action game with magic powers. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. It gives me vibes of this older game called Shadow Man. Did you ever play that one back in the day?
Yes. Yeah.
I would like that if this has some vibes of that.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. This comes out April 8th. So that's really exciting. We don't have too much longer to wait for that one. And then next up, Sandfall Interactive's game, Clair Obscure Expedition 33 was shown off in more detail. This one was on my top 5 most anticipated games from a couple weeks ago when we talked about it. And even more so now after watching this. This is like, might even be my number 1. It looks gorgeous. It's a turn-based role-playing game, but it showed more about that system where you're not just hitting a button to attack, you have to then, do things within your attack, kind of timing based things, and same thing with your defense. You got parry and that sort of thing. So if you're not into that, I don't know, but it's like for people that are always shitting on turn-based games, this one is that, but it has a little bit more skill involved. But the thing that really drew me in was the characters in this. There's some insane looking characters. There's some comedy in there. There's like this weird, I don't even know what it was, like some robot that can then shift into other creatures that you've defeated and use their abilities. Like the trailer for this was, it was so bonkers. And they kept introducing things and I'm like, what is happening? I was very much intrigued by the entire direct for specifically this game. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this one now after seeing more of it?
Yeah, it's
any
exciting.
Interest at all?
Okay. I'd be interested in seeing more, and I mean, especially with what you're just talking about right there, with how many characters and the variety of things. Because I play a lot of RPGs or did before, where it just feels like everything's a little too the same. Your characters, it doesn't really matter. You can spec them all pretty much the same. I like this. I like how it changes things up a little bit, and I want to see more about it.
This looks so different from so much. I mean, the style is beautiful, but then the story, the idea of the story where there's this, this woman that every year or whatever can, puts this new number on the thing, and everybody, over that age dies. So they have to go and try to hunt her down and stop this from continuing to happen. And it's like, what a crazy story. And it's just like, I'm so here for it. Very excited for that one. That comes out April 24th. So again, not too far off. And then last up, Doom the Dark Ages. We got a huge look into that. And this is another one where I was very high on this one. Again, this was in my, top 5 most anticipated, and even more so now. We saw more. So it's a prequel to the 2016 Doom and Doom Eternal after that. And it's more about the, so at a certain point, the character in Doom learned to jump. In early Dooms, there was no jump. That wasn't a feature. We're back to that, where this is more about this giant, iron tank type dude with a shield. So you're not jumping anywhere. There's a lot of strafing and a lot of movement. So there's a little kind of a bullet hell vibe going on too, where you have to avoid that stuff. But you got this, this amazing shield saw that you're using. They showed off all the melee, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I love all this melee. And then I completely had forgotten that, oh yeah, there's also insane amounts of guns in this too. So I was already sold on it just with the shield and the melee. And then they're like, yeah, here's these, guns. But yeah, dude, this game looks so cool, and I'm excited to have that feeling of just being this powerful tank that just I just cruising through everything. So yeah, this one looks amazing. Is this something that you would be interested in? I know you like mech games, and I feel like this kind of has that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this has that feeling of almost I want to say Helldivers 2 every time, but you know the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
Yep.
It has that feeling of being a juggernaut and going through and just wrecking everything. This is one, even though I haven't played a lot of the previous Dooms, I have no hesitation jumping in on this one. I don't think it's going to be that complicated. Just get in there and wreck shit. And I'm all about it.
they did say that this is a great jumping on point for the series because it does take place before the two previous or the last Dooms. So yeah, that one. This one comes out May 15th. So again, like we got April, May are just are going to be huge, and then the Ninja Gaiden comes out in the fall. So yeah, it's gonna be an amazing spring. It's funny, we just did. I don't know if I talked about it before, like the fantasy video game draft. Did I ever mention this before, where you have to like choose games and like you put together like a fantasy team?
No.
So me and my small gaming crew here, we just did our draft in person. We did it here at my house, and it was a blast. But it's funny. So you draft 6 games. 3 of the games that I drafted to my team were Ninja Gaiden 4, Doom: The Dark Ages, and Clair Obscure. So this direct had a big it had a big effect on me. I was very excited about these games.
So like, what's the goal, or how do you win that?
So you do basically, it's based on Open Critic score. So everything, once it gets scored, that gives a point value. So anything over 70, you get 2 points for every point over or a point for everything over 70, 2 points for everything over 85 or something. So, yeah, so you want to pick the best games that are going to be the best critically received games. It has nothing to do with sales or anything like that. So, and then, yeah, throughout the year, you could pick more games. So you just start by drafting 6, and then throughout the year, I think you get another 6 or so. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We all got together, drank a ton of beers, and I had I was writing it up on the whiteboard on the wall. It was like it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I will. I'll report back once these.
I didn't know people were out here doing this. It's crazy.
Yeah, no one does. It's you could have a fantasy everything now.
I guess so.
So yeah, it's I think if anybody is interested, it's fantasycritic.games. And yeah, it's still early enough in the year where you could, put together your own league and get something going. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anything else you want to talk about this developer direct?
Nah, I'm interested in getting into the Xbox Game Pass for January.
Yeah, let's do it. So that was the other thing that came out this week, the January games, and it's a nice list. So first up, available out now, Lonely Mountain Snow Riders came out. That's a day 1 game. It's like a skiing, snowboarding game or whatever. And then so this whole list is different now because now there's the separation of the Game Pass Ultimate, which is the new good games, and now they're also listing the games that are now at Game Pass Standard, which is the cheaper tier. I'm just going to read them all. Flock is now on Game Pass Standard. Gigantic Rampage Edition, that's a 5v5 MOBA. That's out on Ultimate and Standard. Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, that is now on Game Pass Standard. Magical Delicacy is on Game Pass Standard. Chaya is on Game Pass Standard. The Case of the Golden Idol on Standard. Starbound is now on Game Pass Ultimate and Standard. And then Eternal Strands comes out January 28th. This is one that I've had my hands on. That's going to be a day 1 game on Game Pass Ultimate. And then Orcs Must Die Death Trap comes out also January 28th. Again, another day 1 game available on Game Pass Ultimate. And then Shady Part of Me, January 29th on Ultimate and Standard. And Sniper Elite Resistance, another day 1 game coming January 30th to Game Pass Ultimate. And then Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector, another day 1 game, comes January 31st to Game Pass Ultimate. And Far Cry New Dawn comes out February 4th to Game Pass Ultimate and Standard. Some really amazing day 1 games and some great older games on here too. Yeah, what's the big one for you? Are you excited about any of these?
I would say if I'm going to download any of these Far Cry New Dawn, I wanted to try that one since it came out. I'm pretty sure it's like Far Cry 5, but it's kind of built on the same game and engine, just as a separate storyline. But it's like rural Montana. There's like cult stuff going on. I was interested in it when it came out, just never got to play it, so this might be my chance.
That's cool. It's a post-apocalyptic Far Cry. That's interesting. I don't even know if I remember hearing about this. That's awesome. For me, Citizen Sleeper 2, I'm really excited to see what that's going to do. The initial Citizen Sleeper was such a big hit that, yeah, I'm excited to see if this one could follow up on that. Dice-driven role-playing game, just a lot of reading, a lot of dice rolling, and a lot of fun. So, yeah, some good games. And Sniper, you could be a sniper, too. Sniper Elite, those games are always fun for like a half hour. Just watch people's heads explode or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of had my eye on Starbound as well, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's on PC Game Pass. Yeah, that's the other one because there's Ultimate, PC, and Standard with all these. Dude. Yeah. And yeah, so I don't think it's on PC, but it does. It reminds me of Fallout Shelter and the games of that style where you're sort of building your survival shelter room by room, and different rooms have different purposes, and it's all about maintaining balance and managing all that and your resources.
Yeah, very great list of Game Pass games. So, all right, let's move on. Some shakeups happening. The top of a few of these companies. First up, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. The president, David Haddad, is exiting his role after 12 years leading the Warner Brothers Games division. Hard to say that this wasn't a lot of it based on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because there has been so much backlash about that game. But he also had like Hogwarts Legacy, I think, which was one of their biggest games, in the same, 2 years. So it's crazy. Some high highs and some low lows for David over there. They'll be finding someone new to take his place. I'm going to apply. I don't know if I'll get in, but it couldn't hurt. Send him my resume.
Show him your fantasy draft.
Exactly. I haven't, lost a company billions of dollars yet, so I have that going for me.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Corrine Bush is leaving EA BioWare after 18 years. She was a game director, producer. She did a lot of the stuff with some of those biggest games. Most recently, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. She had a hand in there. Let's see, a quote from her. At the heart of it, this was about my own fulfillment. I did what I set out to do at BioWare, that is, to come in and help right the ship. I love Dragon Age and BioWare, so the chance to return the game to a proper quality single-player RPG was the privilege of a lifetime. It was hard fought, as games with such tumultuous dev cycles rarely end up shipping, and even more rarely turn out great. We as a team did it, and it was hard. It took a toll on me. BioWare still has a lot of work to do culturally, but I do believe they are on the right footing now. As for me, my departure was voluntary, as I have been presented with an opportunity I couldn't turn down. I don't want to say much more right now, but you could count on it being in the CRPG space and upholding the traditions of great characters. So that's really cool. Expect a CRPG from her. But it's also interesting, the things that she said about BioWare being like, has a lot of work to do culturally, and about how it was a hard journey to get this game out there. So it was telling. She didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But what she did say was enough, So that's interesting. I wish her well on her journey. But another thing that came out of this, and that has to do with EA, is that recently they their stock prices sank over 15%. Resulting in nearly $6 billion loss from its market value of $37.3 billion. And they're stating one of the reasons for it is Dragon Age's poor performance, which to me is crazy because I thought it did well. And as I'm reading it, critically, it was very well made, and it reached 1.5 million players. But it missed their sales projections by 50%, which to me, too high. That's too high of a projection. If you think a linear fantasy role-playing game is immediately going to be like selling 3 million, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't know the market as well as obviously some people, but I feel like those projections are too high. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, especially all the problems that we've talked about in the video game industry right now. Just, you only have so much time to play games. You only have so much money to buy so many games. To expect, something that's not like a really, really hotly anticipated title to do numbers like that seems a little off. I think they're working on the past of video games and the way that we used to buy them and be able to buy them.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. I feel like these people at the top really need to look at the market as a whole and look at the industry as a whole and maybe stop creating these huge games that they expect are going to bolster their whole division and make all this money, because it doesn't seem like that's happening anymore. And it's going to be interesting to see when GTA 6 comes out if that also fails in the projections that they have for it, because they have very, very, very high expectations for that game financially as well. But another issue with the EA thing is that the FC 2025, the football game, usually generates $2 billion annually, with $800 million coming from their Ultimate Team mode with like the microtransactions and stuff like that, which that amount blew my mind that this game it brings in $2 billion. And it just didn't, it just wasn't there this year. I don't know if you and I don't play the game, so I don't know if the game quality was lacking or if just the demand for this style of game, but the sales were pretty low on that as well. So
now, was this the one where it used to be like licensed FIFA and then they switched it over to not have to avoid paying for the licensing in the name, and they just called it Football Club 25 or whatever?
Yes.
If that's what this is, then maybe it just doesn't have the name power that the FIFA brought to it.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't remember if this is the first time they did this or this is like maybe year
I can't remember either.
FC.
It might even be it might be the second, but either way, it's that was a big hit from that one as well. So EA layoffs incoming. I don't know, but it seems to be the way things are. We see projections less than they expect, layoffs soon after. So hopefully not, but be prepared for next week. We'll be talking about that. All right, next up, some more exciting news. I thought this one was really interesting. The Video Game History Foundation, which I had never heard of it until now, but they are they have a digital library of just stuff that they've been collecting, video game related paraphernalia. But they're making this digital library available to the public on January 30th. So, any of us can go online and check it out. And what they have is a bunch of like video game history materials, like marketing and game development materials, artwork, press kits, promo materials. But one of the coolest things I thought is they have more than 1,500 out-of-print video game magazines that are fully text searchable. That's going to be cool to go back and check that out. In this article, they talk about they went back and did a search for like Metroidvania, and it brought up every video game magazine that had that mention in there, and then you could read the articles. And I was like, that is so cool. That's going to be available, for everybody to just go on there and check it out. So
yeah,
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. But we've talked a little bit about this in the past and the problems that they're having with trying to they want to make a digital library that you can access from anywhere of out of print games, but they're not having any luck on that end. I'm surprised that they're able to do it with some of this other material, because there's still a lot of copyright involved in all the things they say they have, like print materials. If it has a Mario on it, is that not copyrighted by Nintendo? And we'll see what
Yeah.
stays and what gets shut down. It's hard to say. There have been problems with these magazines too, because I've accessed them on like archive.org, but they only have certain titles because other titles don't want to be part of this, and they ask for nobody to be sharing their old, their old magazines and stuff like that. But it is really cool to be able to go back in there and not only for like the nostalgia trip, but also getting context about things and the way we were talking about stuff. I found like the Nintendo 64 had like a completely different logo on the front of it that I'd never seen before, and they were calling it a different name before it officially came out. So it's just interesting to go back and find stuff like that.
That sounds fun.
There's something that I wanted to bring up that was not a thing we planned to talk about, but there was a headline going around that video game creators, some of them want to see games have a $100+ price point. I was watching the most recent WAN show over on LTT, Linus Tech Tips, and they got into this subject, and they pulled up to talk about it, something from one of these old magazines that was just like a cost breakdown of what a Super Nintendo game, where the money goes. So like 4% was going to packaging, 2% was going to distribution, or whatever the breakdown was. But they had that historical context that they pulled out of one of these old magazines. And if they didn't have access to that, or it wasn't like online and searchable, we probably wouldn't have that historical element to compare to.
Yeah, that stuff always interests me. Like even like the ads from some of those things to see like, or like I remember looking at like prices from like Toys R Us from back then, and you're seeing whenever the argument comes up about the cost of games, people are so quick to say like, this Super Nintendo game was $60 back in 1990 or whatever. So it is interesting. As far as that, the $100 thing, let's talk about that for a second. I am seeing a lot of talk about GTA 6 being the one to kind of push that. I don't know if I'm going to spend $100 on any video game.
Right. No
matter what it is. There are so many great indie games that you could play, not to be like this AAA versus indie guy, for $3, $4, $5, up to $20 that are like these amazing small developers like put their heart and soul in these games. And it's like, I'm sure they'd want to charge $100 for a game too, but like they're not. And it's hard with as many games out there to say like, I'll pay $100 for this. Right. I don't, man. That's tough, dude.
As the consumer, we definitely don't want to see the prices go up. It's in our best interest to keep them as low as possible. And like you say, the most interesting game that I was worried about getting on here and gushing about is a $30 early access title. That's basically the same game it was 15 years ago. But when it hits, it hits. I'd say Grand Theft Auto 6 is the one game that I would try to be willing to pay $100+ for, because I know that, my God, I'm set for the next decade when I buy that.
You'll get your money's worth. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. The problem is that when one of them makes that jump, then EA thinks they need $100 for their next game, and on and on, just like we just saw the jump to $70 from what used to be $60 games.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, and like we've talked about it before with the tariffs and all this stuff, there's going to be some price changes, but well, hopefully not too drastic. But I'm very eager for so many reasons for GTA 6 to come out, because it's going to change the entire landscape of gaming, as far as cost and market share and that sort of thing. So it's an exciting time. All right, last up, we got a couple new game announcements that I'm excited to talk about. First up, Machine Mind is a post-apocalyptic survival RTS kind of combo game where you build a base and you have to, build a vehicle to go get resources to, keep building your base, and then you have to defend it against these other things. It looks very cool. You and I each added one of these games to our list here. What was it about this one that really drew you to it?
I love the idea of being able to like build your vehicle piece by piece like that. There is a game called Crossout, which is more of like a 3D it's not this style of game, but gameplay wise and vehicle building wise, it's kind of similar. Piece by piece, putting it together, worried about like what is going to armor your other parts. Once you're kind of destroyed, you're destroyed. But this is kind of taking that and slapping your vehicle down into the RTS style of gameplay, and you need to go around the map, and your vehicle is like has turrets on it. You're going to be attacking the other bases, the other players, I assume, if it's multiplayer, and you're going to be defending yours. So it's Crossout meets RTS, and it looks like a lot of fun.
It does look like a lot of fun. It's a very simple kind of art style. Like it's got that top-down like view. Yeah, it looked really cool. I was, looking all over to try to see if it was just a single player game, or if there was multiplayer. I couldn't find any information about it, but I did see that you can register now for a play test that's coming up. So I did that, and hopefully I'll be able to report back with some of that gameplay. And then the one that I added, and I thought of you the entire time. It's called All Will Fall, another post-apocalyptic game, but this is like a city builder. So basically the world is like this endless ocean, and you have to build these cities, and it's all physics based. So the whole construction system is, you have to, it's basically you're playing Jenga, where you have to build this stuff up, and if you don't build it well, it's just going to fall apart. And in doing so, it's going to, kill people and like destroy like other things. So it looks really cool, the whole physics nature of it, but it looks really hard. And then on top of that, on top of the whole building, there's this whole like ecosystem and social system throughout where you can, rule over these people in a certain way. It looks so intense. And the whole time I was like, this looks like one that Full Clip would dig. The whole building aspect and the city running. So, I've never seen anything really like this. It's basically like SimCity, but you have to physically build everything by hand.
It does. It reminds me of a game called Raft. That's kind of similar in concept, but I think this is much more on that physics-based side. And I think in Raft, you're just the only character or something, or anybody playing with you. You're the only people. Whereas this one's more like you say, SimCity. You have people. You probably need to worry about getting more. It looked like there were people you had to punish for some reason, and there were people who might be like more leaders, or I don't know. There's a lot to it, and the only thing that makes me nervous about it, but like excited nervous, is they show like, this giant platform you're building will sometimes just kind of collapse down, and you'll lose like 2 stories of it into the ocean, and you have to keep building on top of that. And I just wonder, like, if you play perfectly, is there any way to like stop that from happening? But it's in the title of the game, All Will Fall, and it seems like there's going to be some heartbreak, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it.
In the description, and I think to stop people from feeling that way, it says like on easier difficult. I don't know if it's like you can change like the difficulty levels, but that you can, if something falls, you can like basically like go back and try to like repair it before it falls or something on certain difficulty levels. So maybe you start there and then could build up to a more hardcore difficulty. But it looks terrifying. That at any time all your hard work can just fall apart.
Ironically, you put the other one on the you went for the playtest on it. I went for the playtest on this one.
There you go. Yeah, it's both look like fun indie post-apocalyptic games. So there's something for everyone out there. It's just video games. They're just a great medium. And that is all I've got. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, we've yapped enough for the day.
Let's call it a show. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Gaming News Weekly. Be sure to follow us on YouTube at Pop Culture Playground. Go there. Please subscribe. Watch all the videos. A bunch of good stuff there. And then if you are more of a audio kind of person, you can check out the podcast version of the show. Anywhere podcasts are found, just type in GNW and you'll have this show there. Again, hit subscribe. That way the show will be ready for you every Monday morning. Take on the go, and you'll be up to date with all the biggest things happening in the video game industry and TikTok. Maybe we're still here. We're still kicking. TikTok is still around. So go there and follow us over there. Daily content being added to TikTok as well as Blue Sky. And, you know, any number of new cool social medias. If you got to hook up on any cool social medias, get at us. We got to be in on the ground floor on one of these. I think that's everything. So that being said, we'll see you next week with more gaming news.